და აკუმი ხედავს რომელიღაც სხვა თვალით თავის სახლს და სახლის კედელზე ასულ პასიფლორას და ხედავს რომ ჭკნება სისხლისფერი ყვავილები, მიწას ეფინება და ლპება და მათ ადგილას ახლები იფურჩქნებიან, თეთრები, ლურჯ გვირგვინიანები და ბევრზე ბევრი ნაირფერი ჭიამაია ფრენით მოქანცული, მორცხვად ეშვება ყვავილის თეთრ, კამკამა ფურცლებზე. My name is Nana Abuladze. I'm from Georgia and I'm a fiction writer and also a literary scholar. I think the best thing is that we have a long literary tradition, so there's something to rely on, especially in terms of language. But the problem is that very few people speak this language. And this creates many problems. It's extremely hard to find a translator. It's extremely hard to find a publisher in the foreign country because he needs text and the text needs to be translated. And I should say there are languages we don't have any translations in them. For example, we don't have anything translated from Georgian into Spanish. And Spanish is not a minority language, it's a global language. So this is the worst thing, being a representative of a minority language, to say so. The weather and the climate, I mean, it might sound silly, but it matters because if I was born in another country, I got accustomed to another climate, I don't know. But in Georgia, you find any kind of weather. We have mountains, we have sea, we have some eastern part in which the climate is more moderate. So this diversity matters a lot. As for the time period, I've thought a lot about it that if I was born in the 19th century, for example, in Georgia, and I was a woman, it would be very hard for me to be a writer because in the 19th century, the feminist movement was still evolving and there were not so many opportunities for women. And now there are. So I think I'm lucky to be born in the 21st century Georgia. So it's a bit complicated because in the beginning I wanted to be a musician and I've been playing the violin for 20 years now and the music influences the way I think. And I think that while writing I follow the logic that is more musical rather than literary in terms of the text structure or how the phrases are in the text. This is one thing. Another thing is that I have BA in social sciences, more precisely in international relations, and I wrote my BA thesis about the conflict transformation in Abkhazia. And the problem, so I have an article published about it, but the problem with academic texts is that there's always something left that you cannot say there because it's not the right space. And so I've written some stories about contemporary Georgian-Abkhazian relations and participated in some literary projects that were joint literary projects between Abkhazians and Georgians. And the last thing is that I have an MA in comparative literature, so I've switched to literature completely, and all the things I read, especially the literary theory, it influences me a lot, and I understand better what I do while writing. The first 2 weeks when I have this euphoria of the beginning is the most pleasurable, and after 2 weeks a torture starts. It's usually like that, no matter what I write. And the euphoria disappears and the doubts come, and dealing with my doubts, it's always the most difficult part. Doubts are very diverse, that it is not good enough, that I won't be able to finish it, and so on. And in the end, this gives me a sense of despair, which I have to overcome every morning. I sit at the table, and especially evenings are the most challenging times for me because I work well, in the first half of the day, and in the evenings I'm all alone with myself and with all these fears. That's it. Yes, there is. Well, at least in Georgia, people await that you always have a political stand on everything. And when something happens, I also feel that burden to post on Facebook that I think this and that. I never do that, but still I feel it because all the writers do that. Yeah, I think there is such thing, but I don't see myself as a writer, as a political writer. So I try to avoid it, but sometimes there's no other way. Yeah, that's a very good question because we've had some cases when we have a literary award that is state funded and the state decided to intervene in the work of the jury. We protested and the award was in the end abolished and we created some kind of alternative for it, but for only 1 year. So we've lost it completely. So I think the state should fund, but should not intervene, should not control art, and if it is so, it's better to leave art just on its own. And maybe there will be some initiatives from private organizations or businesses that could support more. We recommend a body of text or name certain texts that have shaped me in a certain way. For example, for me, from foreign writers, Jorge Luis Borges and Umberto Eco were the great influences. From my own literature, the medieval texts were the greatest influence. But in general way, I don't have a single book or several books which I would reread on daily basis. Some writers do, and some people do. So I say that I'm a bookizer, if you can say like that. I don't stay loyal to books. I always find new ones to read. Well, talking about the work in progress is a great taboo to me. I never do that because I always have this fear that if I say something, then I won't be able to finish it. And I always fear that I won't be able to finish it anyway. So when I say something, it is as if I take a commitment to finish, and then what if I won't be able to, I'm in these fears. So what I've been writing here, it is going to be a novel. What I've discovered also, it's very hard for me to write in Georgian in an English-speaking environment. And in fact, I wrote some things in English. These are more kind of experiments. I don't look at them seriously, but this was an unexpected thing. And there is a Georgian writer who lives in Germany and she writes in German, Nino Haratishvili, and she has said many times that for her, language is connected to the time and space, and that's why it is unimaginable for her to live in Germany and write in Georgian. And now I understand what she means. This is one discovery. Then the second thing is that I've realized how many opportunities people have here, because to take the International Literature Today class, I've never had an opportunity in my life to listen 30-something writers at a class from all over the world. That's enormous. And in Georgia, we don't have a separate program for creative writing even. As for the surprising things, I should say that I always perceive world in details, so the details come first and then I see the whole picture. So the most surprising part was the way you put names on the streets. No, let me explain. For example, you have this crossroad, Market Street, and there is the street we are now, Clinton Street, and so the Market Street actually is right and left, and Clinton is right, straight one. And you have this sign right in front of me that says Market Street horizontally. Now, to me, it means that before me is Market Street, not Clinton Street, because that's the way how streets would be divided in my country, and streets in my country are not that long. A couple of days ago, I went on a concert, and the lady that was driving me there was a crossroad, and she pointed on the highway and said very casually, "You know, this goes straight to California." I said, "Excuse me, where?" Because, yeah, that's very surprising to me. Too many things have been happening here, and I have too many impressions, and I think I will need some time to realize everything and figure out what influence this place has over me. And I think I will need some time to readapt to Georgian environment, because when I think now 2 months abroad, it's a lot actually.